Okay, here we are again, catching back up to Tom, wherever we last left off. Wow, look at this. Woo! The fireplace is in. The trim along the bottom is all done, along the vertical edges on the corners. Wow, this is, ooh, the TV mount is also up as well. Wow, this is really looking good. I think the last time we left off, Tom was in the process of filling nail holes in, and he's done all that, and everything looks smooth. And then he probably had to repaint that, some of that as well, over the top of the nail fills. But wow, this is really, really looking good. Really looking good. So I think, well, let's see if Tom has wound up showing up in here. Tom, you here?
I'm here.
All right, there you are. So what's going to be going on today?
Today it's time to put some crown molding up.
Crown molding?
Crown molding, yep. I'm going to finish it off on the top with crown molding. The whole room will be done.
Eventually,
I'd
you
like
mean?
to get this portion done so I can mount the TV and
Okay.
not have to work above it. So.
Okay. So eventually you're going to be doing crown molding around the whole perimeter of this particular room.
And
and-
most of the rest of the house.
And you're going to start that by wrapping some crown molding around the top of your new fireplace so that after the TV is hung, you won't have to work in this area anymore.
Exactly.
Okay. So now, from what I've heard through the grapevine, crown molding is possibly something that requires a little finesse and fudgy-coo. It's not, you don't just cut 45-degree angles on everything and nail it in place, right?
You don't cut any 45-degree angles.
Oh, really?
Really, yeah. The molding is up there at almost all of them. You can get 45s, but most of them are up at 59, 51 and 39 degrees. So it's 39, the top angle, 51 on the wall angle. So it comes down further on the wall. No, the other way around. 39 on the wall, 51 top. And so you have to cut them to very precise angles. And there are stops on the saw for those, so you can set it up and just leave it like it is and then keep cutting and cutting and cutting. The way I do it is a little bit different. I put them, I don't do any inside corners. I do regular outside corners, and then on the inside, I'll put a board all the way to the wall and then cut and miter it so that it fits into the existing board that's up there.
I have a feeling, I mean, I kind of half understood, being a person who's never done it, I conceptually understood every other word of those sentences. So I think this is going to best be revealed by actually watching you do it.
I think that's true.
So what is your first thing we're going to be watching?
Okay, what I'm going to do first is put some what I call backer boards, a 1x2 board. I'm going to put it up up to the ceiling. It'll be attached to the wall.
Attached to the wall.
Attach anything to the ceiling. I'm just going to attach to the wall, just as this was attached to the wall, and not the floor and not the ceiling. And so I'll put this backer board up, and that will be when I nail each piece of crown molding up, a nail will go through the bottom and into a stud, and then like every other in between those, I'll put a nail into the backer board to hold it on the top. Part of the problem is that the walls aren't straight, the ceiling's not straight. And if you ever try to attach it like to the floor joists, what happens is you end up with a bit of a wave. As a floor joist wave, so does your crown molding.
You mean a floor joist or a ceiling joist, or both of them?
Ceiling joist.
They're one of the same.
They're floor upstairs.
There are ceiling joists down here. So if I heard you right, you're really not going to be nailing any part of the crown molding to the floor joist or to the ceiling?
Right, correct.
Oh, you're going to be nailing it all to this backer board?
I'm going to nail it to the wall,
To the wall.
and then up a little further, about halfway up the board, I'll nail it to the backer board.
I got you. I think I
Kind of
got it.
pulls in. It doesn't have as much grip to make it
Gotcha.
bend with the surface.
So now I got it now. So the backer board won't be the whole width, let's say, of the molding.
No, it's just a 1x2, so
Gotcha.
3/4 inch by 1.5 inches,
Okay.
nailed up.
This will come to light in the video after we're seeing it happen. And then you'll be nailing everything to that. Now, is that a common practice? Does everybody do that? Or is that a Tom?
I don't know, I've been doing it forever.
Okay.
I tell people I've done over half a mile crown molding.
Okay.
And I can measure it, and it was well over half a mile. I've done it several different ways. I've done them with inside angles, just straight. I've done them by cutting them over. Used a backer board because when you go, like for instance in this ceiling going this way, you can catch a floor joist. When you go to the ceiling going this way,
Right.
there isn't. Okay,
is,
so
right.
you're just putting it up into the sheetrock, which isn't
Right.
very good for holding anything.
Gotcha. And
So-
nobody will see this backer board anyway once the molding is
You
up.
also backer board. And I started by just doing the backer board where I needed it. And then I realized, why do that? If
It's
it
a-
works there, it'll work
It's a
everywhere.
great idea everywhere.
So
Perfect.
that's the way I do it.
Presentation in mind. Let's get the
Okay.
ball rolling here
All right.
and make it more obvious
Let me
even.
get saw and everything ready. I'm going to start with the backer board. So I've got a couple pieces downstairs. And
Okay.
I got to get my nail guns out.
Sure. And do you have some molding handy too, so we'll have all that ready to show, right?
Everything's painted up and ready to go.
You got it painted already.
2 coats. First,
All
same as that, paint it with 2 coats. You'll have to touch it up, that's fine. Last thing I want to do is go up 11 feet and paint something.
perfect. Perfect. All right. Thanks, Tom. We'll be
right.
catching up to you.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, so Tom has got his first piece of 1x2 that he's going to mount up there. Looks like he has taken a measurement that goes from edge to edge. And there he is. He's got it held in place. Just using that friendly nail gun of his. So that will be a backer board. And as he discussed earlier, when he gets around to actually putting his molding up there, he will be nailing part of the molding to that backer board and not the ceiling. Oh, he's got a nail gun problem, so he's got to resolve that first. Back in business. Impressive. So Tom just measured that distance from that edge to this other one at 86 inches. And he says once he gets this board up, his intentions will become more clear than they have been in the dialogue. Okay, we'll see. I'm sure he's right, but so far I haven't been able to wrap my mind around his particular technique he's using here with these backer boards. But it'll all come out in the wash. So Tom's nailing that board up, and you can see that there's a little bit of a gap between the edge of the board, which is probably pretty good mill cut edge, to the ceiling, because those things are just never perfect. That's where the backer board helps.
So when crown molding comes up, there's going to be a gap above it too that needs to be caulked.
Right,
But
okay,
at least the crown molding won't be bent in.
right, gotcha. Okay. The little pieces are next. The little piece. That. I say the little piece next, or you're going to put the other big one?
No, I finished this one.
Oh, okay.
Got that one side.
All right.
Then we'll start to get into measurement.
So I noticed you did put your hand up there to influence it and push it up towards the ceiling.
As best you can.
Yeah, okay.
Doesn't really go very far.
Because if you don't and you nail the molding to it, well, I don't know. I was going to say then you have to use more caulk, but I don't know.
No, you gotta be a little careful in that. What you don't want to end up doing is bring the board up and have it hit the back of the crown molding when you put the crown molding up. There's clearance, but if if you're down like a half, 3/4 of an inch, it's not going to clear anymore.
Okay. So Tom, I have a question for you.
Sure.
Now, not knowing any better, I thought you'd have gone and marked off a bunch of studs, the locations of the studs in this wall, so that when you were up there nailing with the nail gun, you'd have been putting nails into studs through the wall board and the studs. Instead, it kind of looked like you were just popping nails all along the thing. But what are they going into? Is there a piece of wood up there? And
Right. The way the walls are built, there's a bottom plate, top plate, studs in between.
okay,
So you got
okay.
a 1.5 inch top plate, of which a 1/2 inch or so of the plate is covered by the sheetrock on the ceiling. And then the rest is wood.
Exposed as wood. So you knew that. So that's why when you're up there nailing away, you're actually penetrating wood.
I meant penetrating wood, as long as you kind of give it a good, either straight or angled up a little bit.
Okay. All right. That explains that. So Tom has put some nails in on the right-hand side of that newest piece. This thing doesn't want to focus today. You can see on the other side, there's one of these infamous gaps that arises because houses are never built perfectly. So he's probably going to influence that one a little bit to go up before he nails it. Yeah, there he goes. So Tom tells me that the first thing he's going to do now is cut a piece of crown molding for that section right there. Now, is that going to go the full length of that wall?
It's going to go the whole length from there to the fireplace.
Okay.
It's going to be the same size basically as a piece of
okay.
backer that we put up. I mean, it have to be a more precise measurement.
Okay.
What that means is that the backer board on either end will be cut after the crown molding's up. So that's why you have to wait on that. It will be 3.5 or so inches off, and it'll be cut at a 45.
All right.
That's the
okay.
reason I do it that way, as opposed to
Okay.
putting it all up. I would normally put it all up because I know what all the measurements are, but I haven't done this in a while, so we're going to do it one step at a time.
All right. Perfect.
Finish up the fireplace, and then I can move on.
Perfect. Okay.
All right?
Yeah, like I said, as this thing comes to life and we watch you do what you do, the understanding will be more clear.
Yes.
All right.
Now
Perfect.
I'm going to go grab a square, and I'll bring it up, and I'll bring up a piece of crown molding, and I'll explain something in terms of the sizing and the cut.
Awesome.
Okay?
Can't wait. All right. Tom has brought up a piece of the crown molding, and it is lying here on the island.
Okay. This is 7-foot piece. It should be enough for any of those 3 areas. And I bought it at Home Depot, and it came in 16-foot lengths. I could cut them to whatever length I wanted. And both of my walls here, going this way and that way, are over 16 feet, which means you have to have 2 pieces. Hence, what I did was I bought 16s and cut them into 9 and 7, because the 7 was big enough for there, the 9 will be big enough to make it up with an 8-footer into 7/8. So I ended up buying 5 8-footers, cutting 3 of them down to, 7 8-footers, cutting 3 of them down to 7 by 7 and 9, And the other advantage of that was I was able to fit them in my.
Now, you just said you bought 7 8-footers, but you meant 16-footers.
No, I bought 3 16-footers and had them cut 9 and 7.
Oh, okay,
And I
okay.
bought 4 other 8-footers.
I'm sorry.
So I
Okay.
ended up with 10 pieces of wood.
Okay,
Okay. 3 of the 3 7s will work on that wall. The 9s combined with the 8s will work on that.
gotcha. Cool.
Okay.
Planning again.
Planning again, and my car will only take like a 10.5 foot board, so it worked out well. Obviously, if you have measurements under 16 foot, take the 16-footers so you don't have the seam in the middle.
Gotcha.
Just one more thing to do.
Gotcha.
Okay, bottom of the crown molding.
That's the
Top
bottom
crown.
right here. That's the bottom. That's the top. Okay.
I turn it over, and I take my square, put on my glasses. Might want to come around this way,
Come around this way. Okay.
right? And I kind of set my square on the piece of wood
Oh, I see.
so
There's
that it matches there and there. So this is sort of like,
So here's something, if people are new to this, each of these edges is beveled on both sides of the crown molding. And apparently, they create a 90-degree angle, which is what Tom is showing us right now by putting an actual 90-degree angle.
create a 51 and a 39.
What's that?
They create a 51 and 39.
Okay. But I mean, together they add up to 90 degrees.
Yes, they do add up.
And therefore, these two edges right here,
So now, what this says, this is the bottom of the board. This says that the bottom of the board is 3 3/4 inches down from the ceiling.
oh, okay, I got it.
Now, why is that important?
This angle that you're putting here is representing the ceiling.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Wall, ceiling.
Gotcha.
90 degrees supposedly. All right, so now I know that the bottom of my crown molding should come to 3 3/4 if it's going to be square, even though it's not ever square, but the equivalent of square.
Right.
So
right.
when you cut 2 boards and they intersect at the correct angle,
Okay.
okay? So, bottom line, 3 3/4. Now, having said that, you also have to be aware of the fact that if I measure down 3 3/4 in the ceiling, I have to be a little careful about where I measure. Because, for instance, up here, 3 3/4 might be a little different, a little shorter than over there. Because when you go up and you have a gap, that says that something's imperfection. There's some imperfection, whether it's in a piece of wood or in the ceiling. I'm going to bet on the ceiling. I can put a level up there and see, but I need to know where to measure down to make sure that I'm really measuring from the same spot in both cases. All right, so let me go grab a level, go up there and see what it looks like.
So that was pretty enlightening. Look at that. See, for somebody who's never actually installed this stuff before, I didn't even realize that, you've got that. This is a beveled angle and that's a beveled angle, but together they make a 90-degree angle, which of course is your ideal. That's your theory, is that your wall and your ceiling should be at a 90-degree angle to one another. And so by using his square that you just saw him lay across there, he can determine the actual measurements respectively from the ceiling and the wall where the crown molding will land. With those, he's talking about where this beveled edge is going to sit relative to the ceiling, and it's about, I think he said 3 3/4, but it's on the tape anyway, but on the video. So, okay, there's a little bit of planning and a little bit of thought that has to go into this, so that when this stuff is installed, it looks like a continuous piece of molding all around your ceiling and not a hodgepodge collection of duct taped pieces.
Right.
That somebody who doesn't have this awareness and this experience might have, like me, I might have just started slapping things up there and then wondering why nothing ever came together or fit at the other end. Okay.
Now, this is one of my favorite tools. Okay, it looks homemade because it is. What it is for actually marking the distance down. You can see one is for 3 3/4, one is for 3 5/8. It's offset so that this will fit over the top of that board. So I can put it over it, stick up the ceiling, draw a line, and I got my 3 3/4.
So you've done enough of these to know that these two dimensions are fairly standard, depending upon the molding you choose.
Depending on who
And you
want.
very cleverly invented this tool for yourself to make it easy for you to mark off where you're, oh, wow, let's just watch. This guy just amazes me. This is what years and years of doing this does for you. It brings you this kind of experience, and you make these kinds of tools. You know, we talked earlier in the videos about how you got to have the right tools. Don't attempt these things, you know, with hacksaws and files and whatnot. I mean, if you want a good job, you got to invest a little bit of money to get the right tools. But that little one he just showed us is a simple thing he put together himself, but it's going to save him a lot of time. All right, so now he's putting the level up to the backing board. Now he's looking at it relative to the ceiling. What are you learning up there, Chief?
Well, it's pretty tight there, it's tight here, and there's probably 3/16 of an inch in here.
Really?
So that just says that you don't want to use that necessarily. Now, the whole level marks true right there. So that is definitely a gap. So I can use this end, and I can use this spot in the level, assuming that my measurement on the other side works out also.
And you're saying that those are the places now where you want to take your measurements from?
Those are places that I want to mark my 3 3/4.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay, because I know they're level, relatively close. I mean, they're
Ah.
pretty close. And I know there's no gap. If there's a gap, that means that when I measure down 3 3/4, it will actually be 3/16 of an inch less.
Right.
Okay, so it's kind of key to,
Okay.
on any house, it doesn't make any difference if it's 200 years old or it was built yesterday.
Because this one was built yesterday,
It's
relatively
built
speaking. Yeah. Okay, great. Okay, so now he knows where he can make his accurate reference measurements. He's using his little tool. Handy little gadget that thing is. And the way the two things have been nailed together, as he pointed out, creates a nice overlap. So he can just, the existing backing board doesn't get in the way of the measurement. Clever. He knew that one was good. So there goes that measurement.
There'll be one more sanity check, maybe, so I'll grab another tool.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I've marked the line at each end. Okay, and I want to make sure that it makes sense and do a double check on it. So I picked up my straight line. Laser line is another name for them. And what it is just a laser that extends a light across straight line. Okay.
Okay.
And what I'll do is I'll put this back on my mark.
He's burning a hole in his sofa there. With it.
Mark them back. I'll take and
Oh.
put the laser on the other one, and then look at the level.
Aha.
Make sure it appears to be level. Okay?
Wow.
Do you need to do this? No. Do you want to do this? Yes. It's a whole lot easier to do this now than to find out later that it's not quite as level as you thought.
Wow.
All right? So we'll
Let's
take a
check
look.
this out. So this is not a measuring tool. This is a laser level kind of thing, right? he's got the one end of it pinpointed, I guess, against the mark on the wall. And then he's firing a laser over to catch the other mark. And then he's going to check the level that is built into the device to see if it's recording level. Got to keep, this is one of those deals where you have to keep doing it and making.
Pretty good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So now you know you've got your backing board up there, you've got your marks from the ceiling at 3 3/4 or whichever one you're using, right? 3 3/4?
3/4.
3 3/4.
When we put the square on it,
Yeah.
it read 3 3/4. All right, so now the next thing is to cut a piece of crown molding and go.
So if I'm hearing you right, when you go to put that thing up, you're going to be referencing the bottom edge of the crown molding.
Only thing you care about.
Ah, not the, okay. Got it.
Right. I mean, the top will come out correctly, but if the ceiling's off, it will be in or out based on the ceiling. So rather than trying to make two things meet and be perfectly level, that won't ever be, you just take the one that's on the bottom, that's the one you see, go with it.
So all right, so Tom is educating us here to the idea that he's creating a bottom edge that he wants his molding to follow, as opposed to forcing the molding to follow the ceiling.
And the bottom edge, and the wall. You can't have two masters, okay?
Right.
So in this case, the wall is the master. It's what you see when you look up, as opposed to the ceiling. So if there's a discrepancy between the wall and the ceiling, you want it to be end up being on the ceiling, not on the wall.
Because then your eye will see a perfectly straight and level bottom edge
Right.
on the crown molding.
And more importantly, if you do that, the cuts that you make in the corners will actually match up. If you're not level and you're going down, the angles have all changed.
Right.
And we want to have an consistent, same 51-degree, 39-degree angle.
Okay.
So the bottom rules.
Okay.
In this case. Okay.
All right. So Tom and I were furthering our conversation, and again, we're talking about the vagaries of house construction. The actual top edge of the molding will not be sitting up against the ceiling, the wall. It's going to be out from the wall by 2 3/8 of an inch. And that's where Tom is saying, you don't know what's level out there. You don't know what your dimensions are out there. 2 3/8. I mean, what you find right at the edge or the crease where the wall meets the ceiling is one thing, but that may be different 2 3/8 inches out. So he has chosen over time, and half a mile, a full mile,
Well over half a mile.
well over half a mile of
Working on a
molding
mile.
is to use the bottom edge as your master and make sure that that's the thing that lines up as the molding travels around the room, not the top edge near the ceiling. That's what his years of experience have given him the wisdom to do. That's why we're learning to do it that way. Excellent. Thanks, Tom.
Okay, you're welcome. It's going to take a little while to set up the saw.
Okay. Tom just measured this dimension over here. Along that line that is 2 3/4 inches from the ceiling, and found that the exact dimension he needs to cut his molding to is 76 3/4. And that will give him an edge-to-edge fit for that molding along that bottom line, and that's what he's looking for. So he's going to head on out there, and he's going to come back in a few minutes with a piece of molding cut to exactly that dimension.